What is up, everybody? My name is Braden. Yes, that's Braden, not Brandon. With Rocket Vlogs. With Rocket Vlogs? It's like I work for myself. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Rocket Vlogs. Now, my friend Bryce Chanis. Yes, that's Chanis, not Chains. We're really covering a lot of names today. He flew a big, awesome 24-inch rocket on an O motor at Balls, and it was awesome. Here's the flight. Boom, pretty sweet, right? There's also a kegerator afterwards. We had some home brewed beer. It was crazy, but at any rate, while I was walking around the camp, I saw something laying on the ground, and I couldn't believe it was actually there in front of me, because when I was 16 and I lived in Texas and I didn't have any friends, I made the argument to my parents that my sister got a Sweet 16 party, so I should get a Sweet 16 rocket that costs about the same amount. Long story short, I convinced my parents to buy me a Polecat 5.5-inch Nike Smoke. Don't look around in this frame yet. I want to tell the story. We got to get there, okay? Yeah, there you go. Good. So anyway, my parents bought me this rocket, and I always had this dream of flying it on an M motor, so I built it with tip-to-tip fiberglass on the fins. That was my first experience really filling with Bondo and sanding and realizing just how terrible that is, and we're about to do it again. Or, sorry, maybe. Foreshadowing, I forgot. Forget what you saw over there a second ago. I flew the rocket for the first time on a CTI K740 with a questionable homemade 75-54 adapter that then shot halfway into the rocket and torched the bottom half of it. To show you how deep my appreciation for Wildman goes, when I went to Argonia for the first time in 2012 when I was 16 years old, I called and asked, hey, do you have any 5.5 to 3-inch centering rings? Tim said, well, I called. Jackie was there. Tim had already left. Jackie said, no, Tim doesn't take those anymore because they fly all over the trailer. Understandable. And then we show up with my rocket, half assembled. My dad's level 3 motor got lost. He eventually finally got it and flew it this year, earlier actually. So go check that out. Watch this video first. We're foreshadowing. Remember, there's cool things coming, but you guys have to work with me here. Anyway, Jackie Lair, Tim's wife, shows up right after we did, and we're sitting there with crazy Jim Hendrix and trying to figure out how the hell we're gonna fix this thing. Jackie says, what do you guys need? I said 5.5 to 3-inch centering rings, and Tim says we don't have any, and Jackie says check the trunk of the Camaro. She knew I needed them. She brought them from Chicago to Airfest, having left a couple days after Tim. Absolutely incredible, lifesaver. Fast forward, I flew the rocket on a research motor that I made with my friend who had passed away. We made 8 grains. His 5-grain motor, the same exact propellant that we made on the same exact day, blew up. I put it in my Nike Smoke, expecting never to see the thing again, and it worked. My picture got in Rockets Magazine. It's in the Rockets Magazine DVD. I was ecstatic as a 16-year-old. Nike Smoke was already one of my favorite rockets ever, and that really cemented that particular one, my Ecoms Ekin, because I painted it reverse colors as my favorite rocket in my collection. So a couple years later, when I turned 18, I decided to use it for my level 1 on a Loki 38mm I motor, and it came in ballistic because I listened to somebody who, how do I word this? I don't think had even been flying rockets as long as I had at that point, but was older than me, so I thought they must know better than me. I'll listen to them on this black powder charge situation, blah, 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 yada, yada. The rocket that I had flown with full recovery twice had ejection charges issues. That was the only thing I changed.
Yeah!
Come on, go!
Oh no!
Oh, oh man. Oh.
I'm not bitter about it. It's fine. Can you tell it's fine? The rocket came in ballistic, got completely destroyed. Polecat goes out of business. I had one opportunity a few years ago to buy one when Polecat was owned by Mad Cow. On Black Friday, I hesitated, and then they sold out, and Polecat was never produced again. Daniel, if you're watching this video, the current owner of Polecat, please bring them back. Anyway, let's go back to 2 weeks ago at Black Rock, Nevada. I'm walking around Bryce's camp and I see this box with a picture of a 5.5-inch Polecat Nike Smoke that says dual deployment with a 75mm mount, the exact same specs as mine when I was 16, and thought, there's no way that's what's in that box, right? So I started asking around, and there's a ton of people around that camp, and I say, whose is it? Someone must have just bought this. I'm so jealous. And someone says it's Bryce's. Do you want it? And I said, hell yeah, I want it. So I went and talked to Bryce. And lo and behold, he had bought it for somebody else who then changed their mind, didn't want it anymore. I asked for a price. He gave me one and I paid it. And I am now, once again, the proud owner of a 5.5-inch Polecat Nike Smoke. And my God, I'm going to relive my teenage fantasies. But this time, we're doing it right. It might not be the first flight, but the motor I never got to fly in my black Nike Smoke, this exact same thing when I was a teenager, was an M motor, and that is what this one is going to fly on or die trying. If I kill 2 of them, I'll be very, very sad, but at least this one will go out on M power. But we're going to do some things to it that are going to make that not be the case. At any rate, I'm going to open this up and show you guys what's in here because it came with some cool extras. Extra number 1. This, I didn't realize it was already attached to a centering ring. That's interesting. They already put the inserts in. Nice. Oh, wow. They're nut backed. Oh no, those are just the inserts. Well, anyway, extra number 1. Aeropack 75mm flange motor retainer. Didn't have that on my 16-year-old one because I couldn't afford it when I was 16. Boom. That's upgrade number 1. Upgrade number 2, Dado. Somebody tell me what that means. Custom cut centering rings. This is actually something I was having a point of contention with a little bit ago that actually works out in my favor because I was like, I think it has 1/4-inch rings. That might be pushing a little bit for using, for backing my rail buttons. But this is a 1/2-inch ring cut to fit, so we'll use that. And maybe we can double, no. There's inserts, I forgot. You know, it's okay, well listen, we're prototyping here. There's a 1/2-inch bulk plate of some flavor right there. Of course, right here, the Nike Smoke fins. And these are 3/8 ply. These are beefy fins to begin with. But I was just talking with Taylor, who ran a sim and said on a CTI M1830, it would do Mach 1.2. Yeah, Shane's face is telling it's maybe pushing it a little. We're gonna do tip to tip anyway though, so it's gonna be fine. 3/8 with tip to tip, 10.5 ounce glass. Please, you go Mach 5. Anyway, there's the fins. Awesome. My childhood is, it's like I'm 16 all over again, unboxing it for the first time. Here's some more centering rings. I don't really know what's going on here. They're like routed for the fins to sit in. That's pretty cool, I guess, but I'll be honest with you guys, and I don't know why I'm holding this here because the mic's attached to me. I'm probably not gonna use these, but they're cool to have. I do like having just a bunch of parts. Here is all the OG pieces. This is for the nose cone because the nose cone shoulder touches the top of the electronics bay. It's a very, very short piece you'll see for the dual deploy setup. So you gotta have some way to get recovery gear in there. It goes all in the nose. This was my first time packing recovery gear in a nose cone, and it worked when I was very young, so I'm pretty happy about that. Upgrade number 2. So, I don't think you've seen this yet, because where is it? G10 electronics mounting board. I didn't read the dimensions that are on there. I just saw it, got excited. It's it's a little, it's comically undersized, which is hilarious because the factory electronics sled is comically oversized. So it fills the entire electronics blade. And you know what, guys? I'm gonna let you in on another little secret. I'm probably not gonna use either one of those either. If you'll recall, if you watch my channel anyway, if not, and you're new here, welcome. I make all of my electronics bays, or my electronics assemblies, the same size for the most part. 2 inches, quarter to quarter, or 1/4 inch all thread, 2 inches apart for anything 3 inches or smaller. 4 inches or smaller? 4 inches. See, Shane knows better than I do. And 3 inches apart for anything 5 inches and bigger. 4.5 inches, I guess. It doesn't matter. We don't have any more of those. That's in a hole in the ground. All right, let's get the piece de resistance out here. Right here, baby. It makes me so happy. Fun fact, my flight in Argonia, the nose cone, the bulk, yeah, the little bulk plate that I showed you a little ago broke out. Shout out to the Wichita Science Education Center. I can't remember the guy's name, but somebody found it and he shipped it to me. This tubular nylon shock cord was in my original one. I might not use that either. Oh my God, the original instructions are in here. Dude, I am 16 all over again. You know what's crazy? It doesn't feel that long ago that I built this rocket, but it was 12 years ago. Disgusting. Getting old is ridiculous. I love the instructions, dude. It's so cool, but I gotta tell you guys something. I'm probably not gonna use these. Okay, let's talk about how tiny that little payload section is for the tube, huh? It's rather small. Basically, oh, maybe it doesn't quite touch. Okay, there's a couple inches in there. It's quite close. It's quite close. I recall the coupler being quite beefy on my old one, and that is not. Let me tell you guys a little secret. If I put this in here and I put an M motor in it, it'll probably fold in half. So we're gonna do something about that. What? I don't know yet. Let's see what else we got in this bundle of joy. There it is. Oh, it looks like there is a stiffy coupler in there. There is. Okay, here's a cool little secret that I tell you guys. Polecat. The tubes came pre-glassed, and like, I mean, they're fine. I'm gonna put an M motor in it. I'm not doing any more reinforcement. Here we go though. This is what we needed to see to, what, is there more coupler? I don't know why, but yes. Interesting. Well, if we need an extra 5.5 inch coupler, we have one, but here's how this works. Bang, zoom right there, and it should be, oh no, it's a little longer? Okay, so, you know, some assembly required. All of it actually, full assembly required. But we don't need to worry about that. I think, oh, there's something else in there. Oh, right. A motor tube. Hold on, I just thought of a funny gag that we don't need to stop rolling for. Oh, hold on, there's something else in here. What, so this then? A $100 Wildman gift certificate? Certificate? Whoever wrote that must be stupid. Well, guys, I love Wildman rocketry, as you guys know, but I don't need this. I'd rather have one of you guys have it. Wow, that is just cool. Good news, I'm gonna give this away. Well, not this, an actual $100 Wildman gift certificate on patreon.com/rocketvlogs. You have until Halloween Day at 11:59 Pacific to enter the caption contest. And to enter the caption contest, you have to be a $5 or higher per month Patreon supporter. Patron, they call them in the biz. And you can check it out, patreon.com/rocketvlogs. I post little behind the scenes clips and all this and all that and pictures, and while we're working on projects and stuff between videos, I try to put out as much content as I can. If you do $10 a month, you get a quarterly sticker for the first year. If you do $25 a month, you get a quarterly t-shirt for the first year. And yeah, we do quarterly caption contests where I pick the best caption because it's a game of skill and not a game of chance, because that would be a lottery and that would be illegal. But because it's a game of skill, I'm allowed to give away whatever I want to you Patreon supporters. So yeah, go check it out, patreon.com/rocketvlogs. let's build us a 5.5-inch Polecat Nike Smoke and let me relive my teenage dirtbag, baby. For this build, we're starting in a bit of an unusual manner, but it's going to give me the chance to introduce you to one of my new favorite tools for rocketry. The iFixit Mako screwdriver kit is insanely handy and comes with a ton of different bits, including flatheads, Phillips heads, JIS, Torx, security Torx, triangle bits, a magnetic recovery bit, and I'm skipping a few, but most importantly for my application, hex bits. I needed a hex driver to remove the aero pack from this rear centering ring since I won't be using that particular ring, and yes, there is a point to me telling you all of this. Check out the link in the description for my new Amazon Associate store where you can find all the things I use for building rockets, and if you buy it through my link, I get a little kickback, so you're helping keep these videos flow. After I put the aero pack away, I dampened a paper towel and carefully removed the glassine layer from the paper motor mount tube to ensure proper adhesion of the centering rings. Before we do all that though, you can see here that I drilled holes in the rings for U-bolts to connect the recovery gear to. We'll tighten those down with a wrench and a decent helping of thread locker to make sure they stay put, because once they're in, I'll never have access to them again. Usually I'd measure the tube with the fins here to ensure that the spacing for the rings is appropriate for the fins, but lucky for me, the previous owner of this kit already went through all that trouble. I double checked the measurements, found they were perfect, and went on with gluing the centering rings in, being careful to ensure that the slotted rings line up with the fins, and yes, that means I decided to use them. They're neat. After all that was said and done, I took to creating fillets along all the ring joints with West Systems laminating epoxy and chopped carbon fiber as filler. Usually I'd use colloidal silica, but I didn't have any at my new house yet, so I went with what I had despite my belief that chopped carbon doesn't really add more strength than any other structural filler in this epoxy. Here you can see me measuring between the fin slots to find the center and making a nice straight center line with a piece of angle aluminum all the way up the airframe tube, so I have a nice straight alignment guide for my rail buttons. Next, I carefully measured and remeasured again the distance between the top and bottom centering rings. These are the rings that will provide a solid backing for my rail buttons, so I needed to mark their locations on the body tube before gluing the motor mount in. Given that the target is still only half an inch thick, I wanted to make sure I had the measurements precise so I don't miss the wood and get it as close to the center as possible when it comes time to drill holes for the rail button inserts, but more on that later. After that, I glued the whole motor mount assembly into the airframe tube, taking extra care to ensure the slots in the rings line up with the fin slots so that we have a clear path to glue the fins to the motor tube. I glued the fins in and somehow managed to delete the footage, so here's a detailed one-to-one drawing of me doing exactly that. Like I mentioned in the intro, I'm going to change the spacing on the holes on each of the bulk plates for the electronics bay. They come with 4 inches between them, and I'd rather have 3 so that I can use my other pre-assembled sleds from different rockets. The first step here was to fill the old holes with 5-minute epoxy and let it dry. Then I measured 1.5 inches from the center on each side and took it out in the garage and drilled my new holes. Next, I had to trim the stiffy coupler to fit, and I needed to take into consideration the stepped bulk plate that goes into the electronics bay on one side. The easiest way to do that was to put it all together stacked on top of each other and mark it. Then I just cut it with a cutoff wheel on a rotary tool. After that, it was business as usual electronics bay assembly, but I did add one step that I don't usually do. It comes courtesy of my friend Joe Hill, who covers his bulk plates with a layer of epoxy so that you can clean them off a little bit easier and the black powder residue won't find its way into the wood grains and just kind of be a nuisance. Will I ever actually clean it? Who knows, but now I have the option. Once the fins had dried overnight, I sanded them and the tube down to ensure proper adhesion and mask everything off for fillets. Then I made the fillets using, you guessed it, West System epoxy with colloidal silica filler. Then I had the joyous experience, as we always do here on the sanding channel, to smooth the fillets out with some sandpaper before the tip-to-tip fiberglass installation. After a quick measurement, I cut all of the 10.5 ounce fiberglass cloth to size, wetted out the working area, and applied the fiberglass cloth. Then I took it off because the 10.5 ounce stuff was too rigid to conform to the shape I needed, so I started over with 6 ounce cloth with a looser weave, which worked much better. The leading and trailing edges of the fillets on a Nike Smoke are a little bit pesky, so you need a bit more flexibility in the cloth to make sure that it's sitting down properly. Directly after laying out the 6 ounce cloth, I applied a layer of 2 ounce fine weave fiberglass cloth over top and wetted it out too. This layer isn't doing a ton to add strength, but it makes for a much smoother surface than the 6-ounce stuff does, and that translates to less prepped sanding before paint. If you know me, you know the less sanding I have to do, the happier I'll be. Don't worry though, there's a whole lot of it coming. After the glass dried, I trimmed all the excess cloth, and now it's time to revisit that centering ring measurement from earlier. I'm using threaded inserts that go into the wood and they're about 1/4 inch in diameter, meaning I had almost no room to spare in those 1/2 inch centering rings. Fortunately, my measurements were spot on, as you can see wood coming out as I drill, so I installed the inserts with that handy screwdriver set from earlier and put the rail buttons on. If you're familiar with rocketry, the extra nuts on these rail buttons may seem a bit odd, but they provide the clearance needed for the bulbous Nike smoke nose cone to ensure there's no interference with the launch rail. And they look pretty dang straight to me. With all that done, there's only one step left before painting, and that's right, Sanding Channel fans, it's time to sand. I used a DA sander with 220 grit discs on as many surfaces as I could get it on, but thanks to the complex fillet shapes, there was plenty of hand sanding to do too. My goal here is for it not to be evident that there's any fiberglass on these fins, so after the initial round of sanding, I used Evercoat lightweight body filler to run over the top of the fillets and any pinholes created during the fiberglass process, and after that dried, it was back to sanding. You can see here that I like to take the extra time to round the front and back of my fillets and try to create as uniform a fillet around the tips of the fins as I possibly can. It's a tedious step that's really only beneficial from an aesthetic standpoint, but I like for them to look nice, so I take the time and do it. All said and done, I spent about 2 hours in my 85-degree garage sanding and filling this fin can, and boy was it exhausting. But that is the price we pay for pretty rockets. And that's it, folks. Whew. All we gotta do, get some primer on it and see what we need to sand next. There will be more sanding. Unfortunately, as much as I wanted to just have this rocket done in one video, I've been working on it for a couple weeks now. And you're watching this as we're at Midwest Power. So we'll come back to this, we'll get it finished. Don't forget, October 31st is your last day to enter the Patreon caption contest at patreon.com/rocketvlogs for your chance to win a $100 Wildman gift card. You can also join the channel below if you want to help support, or there is a new tip link in the description where the money goes right around YouTube and comes directly to me. So if you want to help more directly without YouTube getting their grubby fingers on your contribution, then use the link in the description. My name is Braden Carlson. You just watched a Rocket Vlogs video, and I will see you next time.